Well, good afternoon. Yeah, had a slow start today, but I'm out in the woods for another little bit of exercise. And yeah, so there's already a couple of movies uploaded, or a couple of videos uploaded today. One of which was definitely due to a copyright strike, but weirdly, unlike as I was hoping, it was from people that owned incidental music, and that was there and it was found, and they've decided they want to put adverts on it if they choose to, but it's hardly worth, with my views, doing so, which is quite amusing. You're getting a percentage of nothing. So yeah, so the KLF video is going to confuse a few people, and I thought it was about time I put some art. Whoa! There's a heron. They fly like bricks, don't. Yeah. Huge. And it's still not raining. So yeah, I thought we needed some art. And yeah, I've been a bit interested. Look, got some fiddleheads coming up. Boil them and eat them, but don't eat the full-grown bracken. Look at this. So, like a green salad right here. You can use blackberry leaves for tea. You can do the same with nettles. I've got wild garlic or ramsons. Might either haven't started or stopped flowering. Acorns, you can harvest them when they come in the autumn. Fiddleheads, wild garlic, and nettles. That'll keep you alive if you needed it to. There's plenty of it. So yeah, thought I'd have some art, and while I was working on that, I was in a kind of a space where me and Harlequin were talking about a film school video by D4 Darius I watched ages ago, and I think I linked to it, and I'll link to it again, or you can just find it. It's like a 30-day practical film school thing. When you go to film school, they make you watch a bunch of movies. They try and make you make a bunch of movies and illustrate that you understand all of the various concepts of telling stories using visual and audio means. You see that? There's the flowering ramsons, same plant. And yeah. And that got me further to thinking, as these things do. How narrow this is. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of got me to thinking as to, why is the world so messed up? Why is there a massive gap between art and business? Or art and politics in most of the world. Yeah. Overhang. Won't be too long before, if we get another heavy winter, these pine trees will be across on this side of the river, having crashed down. Look at them. If they don't want those pine trees to fall over, then you've got to put some sort of support in there for them. Yeah, onwards and upwards. So yeah, and I think because the idea of business is to consume, be a consumer. You consume the fruits of business. We don't, exhume, things as a result of businesses very often. A pencil or a lump of chalk on a cave wall will illustrate the point just as well. But we've got some new toys for making it a bit more addictive. It's quite hard to ignore a moving image with sound. We're naturally drawn to it. As our eyes are naturally always drawn to movement, whether as a predator or prey animal. Our eyes are our principal method of spotting threats or lunch. So yeah, and that's kind of a cyclic level of thinking when you come back round to art and you think, what constitutes art? You know, where are the boundaries? And yeah, I'm not sure there are any boundaries. Universally speaking, there are societal boundaries. There are, you know, there are financial boundaries. There are things you just can't do, you know, but people still keep pushing those back. So what cannot be done is very different to what, you know, is an ever decreasing amount, and not what can be done is an increasing amount. So yeah, and it's the other thing about art is it's quite hard to quantify. People have tried, but it's very difficult to come up with an art equation, you know. But it's quite simple. You know, it's difficult for business to come up with an art equation. You can come up with workable theories on what will have mass appeal. You can't really quantify, you know, art, which means anybody can be an artist, which is very handy. And also, once you put the word in artistic, or you label someone as an artist, you know, it's kind of licensed to be unpredictable, which is very interesting. It means those people have power, and we're back to shamanism again, which I was talking about a few weeks ago. You know, shamanism and art are very difficult to separate. You know, an artist is a shaman, goes into his subconscious or his conscious mind and finds an element of truth, which then has to be dressed up in the fantastical to become art. So is art, you know, just truth in a clown outfit? You know, and people will see beyond it or they won't. They'll choose to see the art there, or they'll just see the ridiculousness of it. You know, I can see why a lot of artists wear very strange clothes. It's very much like wearing odd clothes in an ancient tribe, or a set of antlers on your head to mark you as different. You know, you embody the different. You embody, you know, the mysterious or the ridiculous even. You know, I think, you know, if you think back to the concept of the court jester, somebody that was able to speak truth to power dressed up in comedy, you know, which in itself, if you're a court jester and you're trying to get a point across to the king, and you dress it up in, you know, humour, or you dress it up in the ridiculous, and the king fathoms the meaning ahead of everybody else, and everybody else is just expected to laugh, you know. But, you know, it's a well-known truth, you know, the wise king listens to his jester, or the wise queen. You know, you need to be able to see something in a silly light in order to give it value, perhaps. Perhaps all the things that are common sense, or all the things that are right, are all too easy to dismiss as a truism. But sometimes the truth needs to be dressed up and made to look different. Like, you know, if I was going, and I have gone to court, you know, I wear a suit, which is something that I don't normally wear. But I put on a costume because I appreciate that this is drama. This is dramatic and important. And we must all reflect that. We must all dress artistically, or all purport ourselves in a way that we don't purport ourselves, in order to be taken seriously by the performance. Ooh, super deep. Hope this is all recording okay. So yeah. So there's that. That's the sort of stuff that's running around my head. This is the form of expression I have chosen because I can express it easily and clearly to people that are interested in thinking about it and giving it some thought. So I just want to put another couple of stones in your stone tumbler, and maybe one day, years from now, something polished will inexplicably fall out. Yeah. So there's that. And that's the reason I've done the whole KLF thing. Look, I'm trying to use the rule of thirds, you see? Trying to frame the picture, as Uncle Darius pointed out to me. There you go. A nice river. And a waterfall that I'm sure has got less vertical since I was last looking at it. But yeah, like I said, the river reshaped itself, provided me with another way of getting down to this bit, as I knew it would. Maybe it's just a macro version of, you know, the idea that all things change. All things change. This too will pass. And it'll just be different. You know, and you can choose to stand on the crumbling rock of reality and insist that the rock remain in place forever. Or you can let the volcanic, you know, emissions from under the sea that have caused the flooding, that have caused your rock to erode, to produce a new island for you to step on. You know, maybe that island will be crap, and maybe it'll be better than the rock you chose to stand on. You know. But here's the important bit. If someone as thick as me can figure that out, and figure that, you know, about art and change and the nature of what's it called, entropy, yeah, if I can figure all that out with my limited experience and my extremely limited education on the subject, then yeah, it should be easy for everybody, shouldn't it? You know, embrace the impermanence of all things, suck down the chaos, get trapped in a tree, catch your microphone cable on a twig. Leaving that in. But yeah, that was a bit low. So yeah, you know, there's the golf course that I normally look up when I'm up right up the top of the hill. And there's the, I think you can see it in there, maybe. There's the, what do you call it? There's the pylon. Those pylons always reminded me of War of the Worlds when I was little. I could imagine them striding across the countryside, striking down people with bolts of electricity. Yeah, that's pattern recognition again. But you know, maybe that's a subconscious understanding of the fact that electricity can kill you as well as provide you with all the comforts. Maybe. Might not be able to do this too often. Yeah. So there it is, you know. You've got your creativity, you know, your creation abilities. And that ranges from, you know, a biological perspective. You know, you can have kids, you can rear animals, the biology and the randomness of genetic calculation writ large. Or you can make a mark on the side of a cave that represents a bison. Maybe another one that tells you how many moons it will be until the caribou return, so future people don't have to panic so much. You can use art to educate, to get a point across, or it can just be there. You know, maybe our most primal urge is to leave a mark on the universe, especially when we feel that we're not very important. You know? Quite a lot of it are the things that people become angry about because they don't feel that they're being listened to, or they feel that the level of importance they feel they're due isn't there, or somebody chooses not to express it. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. And I wish I'd charged up the batteries before I started out, and I had plenty of time to do so, but I didn't, and that's why I only managed to take about 15 photos out of the 100 that you're supposed to take on your first day. But yeah, I'm alright with that. Maybe I'll take some photos later. Maybe I'll try and produce some, what do you call it? You know, reference images that just involve simple objects. Let's call some simple portraiture. Ooh. It's all very squeaky because this tree is falling down. But yeah, I don't want to be walking for miles and miles. I'm going to turn around. So yeah, so you know your art is your creativity. You know, it's a signpost when you're trying to say, look guys, I've figured it out. Well, I haven't really figured it out. You know, how many generations of people before me? Something like 100,000 years of humanity. Nobody's tried to get across the creativity over destruction thing. You know, maybe you can bring creativity out of destruction, you know, where you admit that essentially you've got to kill shit to stay alive, whether even if it's plants, and you make some sort of artifact out of the stems of the grasses from which you've eaten, you know, the seed pods, you know, scattered some maybe, so that those resources will be there again in a year's time. Or you can turn creativity into destruction if you want. You know, you could write a song about the joys of hunting that would inspire people to go and hunt dangerous animals. Or you could produce a piece of propaganda that leads to the death of millions. It would still be a creative act. Wouldn't be a good one, but that's coming from a point of moral relativism. Very few people wake up in the morning and say, man, I'm going to do some evil shit today. Very few. If you ever meet someone like that genuinely wants to, you know, have a nihilistic reaction to the immensity of creation in the universe, and I'm not being religious there, it was created, whether it's created by mathematical formula and physics or a benign being that wanted us all to have an existence. It's down to where you stand, what you believe in, what you feel you can explain and what you can't, and whether not being able to explain something frightens you or not. You be the judge. Our lines are not open. You know, that's for you to figure out, but it is worth spending some time to figure that out. Yeah, man. Getting some working class philosophy going down here now. Yeah, that's why it's still on Urban Agoge. I'm still figuring it out. And chances are by the time you're 50, like I nearly am, you'll be still trying to figure it out. There's a lot of stuff, and you can figure something out, but it will make your life extremely black and white. Make it extremely binary, and possibly even a bit less interesting, and certainly cut out, you know, a lot of people from your life. You know, I don't know. So encouraging everybody to create at least something, and most of the people I know do, but in case you've stumbled across this and you're like, what the hell? This is just a middle-aged guy walking around in the woods thinking about stuff. You can do the same. It's YouTube. People even watch these, not very many, but they do. So yeah. So, yes. So lots of stuff's been running around in my brain, and I don't think that if you are at least thinking about stuff outside of mere daydreams, or you're not thinking about what you want to acquire, you're just thinking about how it all might work. But, you know, there's two answers to that. One, the answer is extremely simple. You know, find out what makes you happy and do that. And one is much more complicated. You know, is it morally right to put your views across to someone else when they might be quite happy as it is? But, you know, depends what you believe. If you believe the world is in fairly immediate, geologically speaking, peril, you know, is it your responsibility to tell people that so they change their ways, or is it your responsibility to shut the fuck up and deal with your own worries on your own? You know? It depends where you stand. Yeah. You know, and it also, you know, we broaden our voice, or we broaden our voices by becoming better at telling stories you know, we become better with better technique. But I think we need to tell stories. I think that's a primal bit of humanity, and it may be exclusively down to humanity, you know. I'm going to use a pop culture reference. You know, humans tell people stories. Tell each other stories about what might be or what might have been, or they tell stories about reality and things that happened in their lives to keep those ideas alive, or to keep what was learned from that experience alive. When we were hunting the deer, we kept quiet and we caught more deer. You know. When we were in relationships with each other, this thing was useful and important and made it work. Prevented our sadness. Or the opposite, you know, cautionary tales. This thing happened and it was very bad, and we did what we thought was right and we were completely wrong. You know, maybe other, you know, cultures out there in the universe don't do that. Every culture of humanity does, because telling stories, that verbal communication, is what allowed us to survive for long enough to build a civilization. But if you watch something like, you know, this is going to sound stupid, but Galaxy Quest, they posit the idea of a race of beings that don't tell stories, you know, or if they do, they're always based on absolutely truthful events. They're not exaggerated, they're not changed, they're not purely invented. That could be our value to an AI or an alien or a god. Or it could be our value to a super smart human being. You know, you only need to create a race of people that are 1 or 2% smarter than humanity, and you have a real problem. Another pop reference. You know, the worrying idea of superhuman beings like Khan Noonien Singh in Star Trek. You know, if you were significantly smarter and you saw a planet being run by Wallies, you'd want to step in so your planet remained. You know, or you just bugger off somewhere else. You know? You just, you know, right, we've got space travel, time to leave. You know, who would really be able to stop you from going to Mars and just setting up a city there and saying, you know, this is mine? Which would be ironic, because the first people to kick off about it would probably be, you know, the United States government. You know, that'd be interesting, given that it's like all countries, but most recently and most well documented, you know, it's based on theft from other people. You know, we decided that it was ours. You know, how would you prove that on Mars? It'd be an interesting story, wouldn't it? You know, you can look at it like Robert Heinlein and The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. If you get anything smart enough, you feed in the parameters of it'd be nice if we didn't have to kill anybody, but if we have to, we're okay with that because they're going to kill us sooner or later. Give that to an AI, you know, that's one possible way of it going. So yeah, it all comes back to concepts like Church of Server and the culture in the end. I think that's why it's taken me so long to narrow it down. But yes, from my personal viewpoint, I think we're in terrible danger as a species. But I'm also at the sort of end of my life where it's like, yeah, you know, this will probably carry on for just long enough for me to happily die, so I don't have to live with the results of my consumption among other people's, you know, my decisions. So yeah. So, you know, that kind of thing tends to make you a bit sanguine about stuff. You think, yeah, fair enough. It wasn't a wasted life. I had adventures, did really wild shit. Went into trouble, got out of trouble. Had stories to tell. You know, experienced most of the things I want to experience, really, and the really important experiences. You know, held my own child in my arms, you know, seen the replication of humanity. Found that, you know, I managed to at least partially help to raise a child that, you know, I like, which must be you know, I can't imagine raising a child that you didn't like, but I'm sure it happens. You know, I see the output of it, most of those people become artists. So yeah, maybe you need stress points in your life in order to really create something that will have an impact on people. But then again, I've seen stuff produced by people who didn't have a good relationship with their parents, and it's amazing, but not many people have seen it. It's all part of the ineffable, innit? And nobody seems to want to buckle down and say, right, this would be a good life. This would be interesting. This would be valuable. You know, maybe they did. But then they wrapped it up in a whole bunch of bollocks that I have to wade through. You know, how to be happy. Create shit. Make stuff. Bring things into being that weren't there. Not just children, but works of art, videos, music. Make shit up. Reproduce some of the best stuff. Remix it and remodel it and hand it out as if it's new. Because, you know, all movies are about the people that we would wish to be, heroes. Lots of them are about love, the relationships we'd like to have with the people we'd like to have them with. What are the other themes? Some of them are about death. You know, what it's like to die. Some of it's about raised stakes and taking a chance and it panning out. But they're all avatars of who we would personally like to be. I mean, even the pop singers and artists and movie stars try to fashion themselves after who they'd like to be. Well, that's all right. As long as you realise that until your dying breath, you're still making that person you'd like to be. But the really good news is you can start making that person at any point in your life, no matter what your circumstances. And always draw a line under it and go, yeah, let's not do that again, that was a fuck up. So yeah, it's going to be a long vid. Easily half an hour. So yeah. This reminds me to prove it's me. But also, this acts as a good check and balance because I know what I'm wearing, so I can be certain I've got the right piece of film. So yeah. Philosophy is pretty simple, really. It's just people like to complicate it and try and map it onto unrealistic models for civilization. And that brings us back to Star Trek again. That's a civilization that looks like that if you're good at something or you want to do something or pursue it, you've got the freedom to do it. No money, no jobs. You decide what's worthwhile. You know, we've automated all the jobs that nobody wanted to do, if you want to. Or if you want to do them manually, you can go ahead and do them. There's quite a few chefs in Star Trek. You know, that's just an example. But, you know, if we can make a robot that will clean the loos, we're up for that. Yeah. Maybe they don't use the loo. Maybe they just transport it away. Push a little button on your belt. It detects all. Sorry about that. Yeah, and it detects all the human waste and just transports it somewhere else. Like a hydroponics bay or something. You never know. So, yeah. It'd be nice not to need stuff. But, you know, trying to move towards an environment where you don't need stuff, you know, really freaks out the people that sell you the stuff they think you need. So, yeah. That's another time. That's a conversation for another time. So, yeah, thanks for bearing with me if you've watched all the way to the end of the video, because it's going to be a long one. And I think I'll leave it there. So, thanks for watching. Do take care. And where am I going? Who's coming with me? And never mess up the order. See you soon.